but you're welcome to this session of the Master Series. My name is Akwasa Donke, representing the CIPM. So I'm going to go straight into the Master Series. I'm going to call on Mr. David Oye Ugbemo. He's going to take us on the Megatrends, the changing economy and HR's role in employee reward management. So please pay attention. We're going to hold the questions until after the session, or as he dictates. This is going to last for an hour, 30 minutes, and after that we'll all move to the Africa Hall. So I welcome Mr. David.
Good morning, everyone. I think we'll have this in two parts very quickly. I'll be using my hands to this. So welcome to the annual conference of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. I'm David Oye Ugbemo, as you've been told. I will be talking today on megatrends, the changing economy, and HR's role in employee reward management. If we had enough time, I probably would have asked you really, what's your expectation for this session? But I think we have a number of people, and in any case, I think we will have the opportunity, first of all, of question and answer after this. And I think you're also still going to have a session called the HR clinic, where we will have another special session for reward management, and we can pose our questions or even more detailed questions at that time. Well, this is who I am. There's something I do what they call a getting to know, but it looks a very big class. I'm sorry I said class, but again, it's a master class, so it's a class really, okay? And this is just to give you a sense of who is standing before you. My background is HR through and through. I think the only time I ever started out of HR was when I was working for an organization called Sterling Health, and it was bought over. And by the way, Sterling Health has the brand called, or had the brand called Panadol. And I think the last that was launched was Panadol Extra, called Pan Extra, before it was acquired by GlaxoSmithKline, then called SmithKline Beecham worldwide. So today, if I say Sterling Health, and in the 90s, if you're not particularly familiar with the manufacturing industry or the pharmaceutical industry, it wouldn't make any sense to you. But if I say Panadol, it makes sense to you right now. But when you look at the pack of Panadol today, you see GlaxoSmithKline. In actual fact, it was Sterling Health that had that. Okay, and then, so that was the only time when we got bought over there at that time, and I moved out of, we don't have a pointer. So sometimes I will have to just use my hand to point as well. Okay, I got into what you call the corporate communications for 1 year before I then moved to the oil and gas. So I've done 6 years thereabouts in British American Tobacco, where I cut my teeth in HR after my university days. I worked in Lagos, Ibadan, and Zaria at the major factory locations. And then, of course, I joined this company, Sterling, and I told you about. I spent 2 years there between Sterling at GlaxoSmithKline. I worked in employee relations and corporate communications. And then I moved on to the oil and gas and the manufacturing sector, where I spent 14 years in a company called Slongier, and I'd worked in South Africa, in Cameroon, I worked in Paris, covering Europe, Africa, and what you call the CIS, the Commonwealth of Independent States, and of course, later Caspian. And of course, I worked in Brussels as well, in international staff services. Then I moved on to Transocean, which is a drilling company still in oil and gas, and I did 2 years there, as HR director for Gulf of Africa, in Gulf of Guinea of Africa, which means all the Western Africa, and then of course part of the Eastern Africa. And then I moved on to General Electric, where I was in the last 3 years. I left General Electric just about 3 months ago, thereabout, okay, up till about April 2015. And there, particularly, my role was more of reward management. Of course, later I doubled as the Western Africa senior HR manager. And now, on my own, I have my own consulting organization called Accent HR Consulting. And Accent HR Consulting is about consulting, advisory, and research. So pretty much it's about reward management. It's about talent advisory, succession planning, organizational development, HR transformation, okay? And then of course, give me a second. That's what I do right now, consulting, advisory, and research, all in HR. But again, I go into what we call organizational development and restructuring of entire organizations. So when we're talking about HR really, I don't just go to organizations to talk about HR to the business leaders. I talk to them about the entire organization and what their strategy is. And it's from there, we begin to then talk about what you want HR to be for you. We don't talk about HR, in isolation. It must really tie us into what the company is looking to do. So that's it. That's what I do. So let's start with this. How many words can you make out of Monday? Let me give you about roughly 2 minutes to do that. Number 6. But what do you have? Give me just one. Did, yes. On, yes. Yes. Yes.
Done.
Yes. Yes. Who has tried to play the word back completely? Just to play it back. Yeah, wasn't the one then? Okay, so this is how we're going to talk about this. I don't know how much of this, we'll be able to cover, but you get the selected slides to be sure that, you have a sense of what we're going to talk about. So here we are, we're going to look at global megatrends, okay, and what that means for HR practice in Nigeria, in Africa, and for the rest of the world. And these days, we are pretty global anyway. The world is a global village right now. So if it's happening in the US, it's happening anywhere, I can tell you for sure. Okay? And then we're going to look at the Nigerian economy overview. I don't intend to make anyone here an economist, and I'm not one myself, but I can tell you for sure, we need to have a sense of what's going on, in our environment, and it impacts a lot on what we do, especially when it comes to reward management. And then we're going to look at the implications for business and employers, public and private sector. Now, this, in this particular sense, you will find out from my experience. That's why I put that there, not because I wanted to sound off, but to let you know that when it comes to public sector experience, I am finding my feet. I've never worked in the public sector. As a matter of fact, my interaction with the public sector has been pretty minimal. It's happened more only when I started consulting. And so we'll be looking at a couple of things about the public sector, but there are more issues that people have raised with me when we're talking about reward management in the public sector. And I've always tried to, to counter a couple of things to say, for instance, it's all about performance management, right? So really, yes, you do have your typical structure of step 1, step 2, grade level, and then steps. But the question is, rather than have the automatic, move from step 1 to step 2, either annually, or biannually, however it's done, you need to tie it to the performance level or the performance expectation that the person needs to reach. And that's going to happen more these days because look at it this way. Oil prices, mainly, we're going to talk about that, all right? And states are not getting the required funds like before from the federal government, okay? And because of that, they're not able to pay salaries. So it's going to be down to, really, should I actually even carry the number of headcount I'm carrying today? That's number one. I think the governor should be asking that. Although because it's political, nobody wants to be voted out after 4 years if they have the intention to get re-elected. But the point is, one has to make that call one day. Somebody has to make that call to say, we really need to carry the headcount we're carrying today. That's number one. Number two, this headcount, what are they meant to achieve for us? And so the only person who gets actually, every people get appraised. And just like in the private sector, when appraisal is done for 3 years consecutively, anybody who is on, poor performance for 3, 5 years consecutively, one day you look at the whole process and you say to yourself, my bottom 5% should go. And you will do it nicely, because sometimes we're carrying people on who should actually be doing something different than what they are doing. They come unhappy, they go unhappy, and they're only waiting behind because it's just a meal ticket. So such people, they are not only toxic to the organization, they are toxic to the people they're working with as well. Okay, and they could be demoralizing others as well. So I want to say what should happen to them even in the public sector, but we'll get there. Okay, and then we look at the lessons we're going to pick from that: the good, the bad, the ugly, and then how do we engage and retain critical talent? What are the engagement factors? We're going to look at the employer's perspective of what engages employees. I'm going to look at the employee's perspective, and in that employee perspective, we're going to look at the multi-generational perspective. What's actually, what people call, what motivates them. And then we're going to look at the reward strategy in terms of what do we then do with reward for this group of people. And then, of course, as I said, we look at the public sector perspective. So let's pick up. Well, I already give you a sense of this, but pretty much what this will help us to do is just to look at the climate around us, both globally and in Nigeria, and then center our discussion around what we should be doing, with compensation or with reward management. Okay, so this one I'm going to go very quick. Today, well, Megatrends itself are large and transformative global forces that define the future by having a far-reaching, impact on business, economies, industry, society, And they call them Megatrends because they are futuristic, but as you will know, the future is now. If you don't create the future now, there'll be no future to meet when you think you want to get there. Okay? And what are we seeing? We're seeing that there's globalization. And what that means is that apart from seeing the world as a global village, apart from the fact that the borders, the barriers are breaking down, more often than not. For instance, today, in Europe, I take as an example, how many people have Schengen visa here? You've ever heard Schengen visa? No, say it. I know it's not US visa, but okay. Schengen visa, that's a typical, okay. Now, if you step into Europe, and that's why everybody struggles for Schengen visa. If you step into Europe today, and when I say Europe, I mean continental Europe, outside UK, okay, and also some Eastern European countries are still not part of the European Union. But if you come into Schengen today, the states making up Schengen. So, for instance, if you get into Paris today, you have a Schengen visa to get into Paris, to get into France today. You can actually move around by road up to Rome, go to Italy, go to all these countries, and even if you are going to these countries, even legally, even to work, it's so the borders, have become so, I won't say porous, because they've been so pulled down that with little or no agro, you can walk. And by the way, when you see a particular country's salary statement, you pretty much have seen the rest. I think the only one that is crazily different will be maybe France, because France, they have this funny, it's like the one you have in Gabon or Congo. I don't know whether that works with Gabon or Congo here. I don't know how many people have more than, let's say, 5 or 6 items on their payslip in this place, in your company. You have more than 5 or 6 items on the salary statement monthly. How many do you have?
You have to count stuff. I have more than 5 anyway. I have more than 5.
Okay. In Congo, they have about 15. Yes. Line items, exactly, about 15. And all these line items are either negotiated or they form part of what you have to review every time you are doing salary review. Mostly most of them are percentages of base salary, and when they are not, they form there are other parameters, for determining, how you arrive there. So if you can speak English in Gabon, in Congo, for instance, Congo, Brazzaville again, you have an allowance for that. They call it diplôme de langue. And so you find that the kind of homogeneity you find in places like EU today, you don't have it, in Africa. But that said, globally, really, you are finding a measure of homogeneity. And you will see that in even how we manage our talents. The talent pools are becoming virtual things. So you find out that today, and it's going to happen more. It's not happening as much as it should in this part of the world. But today, if I ask, really, many of you are part of a global team, am I right? So today you are sitting here in Nigeria as either HR executive, HR director, HR manager, or whatever your role is, but you belong to a global team. So when there's a global rollout of any plan, you are in a virtual communication almost on a regular basis, right, with other colleagues from other organizations. Am I correct? So you find the things that, and you're being told to roll out. So what you do is that, of course, it's a global plan, but then, of course, you adapt it, to your local setting, isn't it? And we are also having today a global talent pool. Oh my God, sorry. Should I put this on already? Sorry, should I? Probably. Who? Okay, I don't want to keep on asking questions. But when you recruit, for instance, let's say field engineers in other services, right? I won't mention companies now, you've seen where I work already. You recruit not just for the country, you recruit for the global talent pool of engineers. And that's why when they come to the organizations, they're not even seen as Nigerian engineers, they are seen as what they call the international mobile engineers. So even at that, they are not just part of regular engineers, what we call the home country residents. There's a difference. You follow their career, you're compelled to follow their appraisal, you're compelled to follow their training, so that they don't lag behind. You're compelled to report on them regularly. You're compelled to follow their, to follow their career path. Because at any point in time, they could be picked on to go elsewhere. So you could see somebody today hired, for the global goal, working in Nigeria as a Nigerian. But really, when something comes up in Gulf of Mexico, in the US, they pull the person out to go, with a day's notice. So really, we are going to manage a global talent pool. And when we say there's a shortage in global talent pool, that affects all of us. Not just because you sit in Nigeria. Okay? And of course, that is one thing that is happening right now in globalization. So we are all struggling for the talent pool that is just this small. If we are fully regionalized in Africa, you will find out that today, Nigeria actually should be the exporter of talents in Africa. With my experience in Africa, over 10 years of 10, 15 years, I have come to discover that today, maybe apart from Cameroon, Ghana, right? When you have to pull talents together, and you're saying, I'm looking for regional capabilities in Africa, frankly, and so because I'm in Nigeria, 70% of the pool will be Nigerians. I'm talking about people, when I say talent, I mean talents. There's a difference between workforce and talent. Can somebody give me an idea? You know what I mean? There's workforce, there's talent.
Knowledge employees and employees.
I won't say the rest. There are people who just, yeah. They're passing here the boss. Okay. So that's one part of it. The second part is that in terms of corporate social responsibility, you will find that very soon people will begin to determine what company they work for. In fact, they're already doing that. Many of you today will not work for some organizations on account of your faith. And don't look at me, I know. And they say, by the way, you go out there and say, I work for a company that makes a particular product. Everybody gives you a distance. It depends on your faith, right? And they say, oh, you're the one killing everybody here, either with cancer or with lung liver disease or whatever, and things like that. Well, my apologies to anyone who is so acute. But I do know because I've been there myself. You've seen the companies I work for. And I've been stood up in a public place by somebody and given a real dressing down because of where I worked. Okay? I didn't leave because of that. Okay? So we go to the Internet of Things. You find that the world is connected today heavily. Believe me, today, very soon, and I don't know many of you today, I believe those who are here, I would really believe that many of you still carry around salary statements in hard copies, right? You actually have a company, I would imagine you have an outsourced company, right, that handles your payroll, or maybe you are even the one doing it by yourself, but you have a system that does that, right? Payroll everything gets done. It picks all the information from your enterprise data system, okay? Because everything is synced. And all you do after the whole thing has been done at the back end is that the employee gets an email saying your salary statement is ready. He goes there to check. By the time he's checking it, it's in the bank. Everything's been done online. And many things are happening. Today, many of us, I'm sure when I hear somebody today and I greet the person, I say the person is this and that. The next thing I do is to what? To either Google the person up or check LinkedIn. And I'm sure many of you have checked me up already. So we all do that. So, we are meeting today a lot, not physically anymore, but we are all doing the things electronically. Today, also too, you will find that we are getting connected. Many of us here, we have, is it, what do you call it now? What do you call that Samsung, what's it called? S6? I'm very basic. I don't go into sophistication when it comes to those things. They could get lost anytime, so I don't want to cry. So I use very basic stuff. Okay? But you find out today, the number of devices we have, right? Look at it. I hope you can see that bit of it there. Today, in year 2000, we have 6 billion people on the earth, and devices connected to the internet are 500 million. 2011, we're 7 billion. When we're 7 billion, about this time, 13 billion. By 2020, it's expected that there will be 7.6 billion people on this earth, probably more. There will be 50 billion devices connected to the internet. Because you have your iPad, you have your phone, you have your computer, and very soon, and I think it's happening now, you will find that your mobile devices become your office. You don't have to have an office. Somebody asked me one day, I said, where's your office? I said, don't ask me. Because I can be anywhere, I can be working for you from anywhere, and we are connected. We can do video conference, we can do teleconference, we can talk, we can exchange stuff on the email. We can do anything now. You really don't have to be. So, from an HR perspective, are you still looking for people, right? Are you still struggling for space in the office? Are you still marking time and clocking, except for factories where people have to be there physically? Companies today are reducing space, and they're saying work from home. In 2000, teleworking exactly. In 2000, I was working somewhere outside this country. I called somebody up, and he said, let's see. And he said something, I can't remember what he said right now, but apparently this guy was at home. And I said, oh, you're working from home. He said, I went for tea break. I said, in your house? I said, what are you talking about? In that location, the office space was just so small that they actually had fixed time that they come to the office. So somebody comes to use that desk on Monday, another person comes on Tuesday, another person comes on Wednesday. So you find that maybe you show up at work once in a fortnight or once in a week. But it's going to happen more in Nigeria. And that's why I'm not too sure, what the plans of, of people who are building all these high-rises all over the place in Lagos, or probably in Abuja, or anywhere in the country. I don't know where they're factoring that into it. The way we are going today, people will not need so much big stuff, big space, to work. Beyond that, we're going to have, skills shortages. And that's because we're getting more into what they call, it's not showing very well, but I was trying to show a McKinsey study here. I was asking, what kind of people will you be recruiting? And let me say this to you, as a HR manager, can I say this to you? This will surprise you. Well, let me not say it will surprise you. Let me ask a question humbly. Do you know the positions you'll be hiring for in the next 10 years if you're still in your company? Do you know that? Do you know the positions you'll be hiring for in the next 10 years when you're in the organization? But let's just take us too far away, because these days things change fast, right? We live in a world where they say it's VUCA world, and VUCA means it's volatile, it's uncertain, it's ambiguous, and it's complex. Okay? And that means that you can't plan more than 3 years, realistically. And even 3 years are being very ambitious, right? I think a lot of things are changing these days. But the point is this: in 5 years, do you know the kind of roles you'll be hiring for? But you should know, by the way, because then you should be involved in strategic planning for your company to know where you're diversifying into. So today, if you work for an oil and gas company, with price of oil dipping every now and then, what will you be doing? I've seen an oil and gas company get into properties, and we're looking for an architect and said, excuse me, to do what? And they said, we're moving out of oil and we are diversifying. So really, in essence, really, the way things are going, the kind of skills that will be required for the kind of business that are going to be going into will be different. If you were in HR 10 years ago, I don't know how few that would be in number here, could you have imagined the amount of the kind of people that we are hiring today and the skills we are hiring today? How many people have had some surprises, in that direction? How many people here, your company, the way the work you're doing and everything like that? I'm sure you have, exactly. The kind of job that you're being told to hire for right now, and you're wondering, 10 years ago, they were not in the plan. And I can tell you by 2020, 2025, 2050, if we're all alive, 2050 is what for now? You should have retired by 2050. Anyway, let's go. So you found that employment also too, there will be an issue with employment. I can tell you, today we have what we call contract staff. And I'm not here to preach Pengerson or any union or New Peng or whatever. But the point is this, many people will choose how they work. And when they're choosing how they work, they will not want to come and be with you and be your permanent staff because they want to have a measure of freedom. And because of that, you bring them consultants and bring them contract staff. But you know what you're doing today? You are saying to them, I will not pay you this and that. You will not have these benefits. But I'm telling you, when you find out that the kind of staff you have, people are actually making that choice to be contract staff, and they are holding critical positions in your organization, you will change. Because you either provided for them, and you were able to retain them with that status they are asking for, or you are just not able to have them. And that means that you can't run your business. Well, so what does all this mean for us? Well, it means that, even though these trends, the trends and what they mean, the implications are overlapping. But employees will work in more centralized firms. There will be specialized, you have less standardized employer-employee relationship. That kind of contract we write and say because you're a permanent staff, you have this, you have that, what you call a full-time employee, FTE, all these things will change. You will see more of contract, consultancy-based kind of work coming. You will see a slower labor force growth, will require employers to adopt approaches to make sure that you are able to bring more women in than we are asking for today. By the way, how many companies here already are focusing on diversity and inclusion? I mean, in terms of, in recruiting people, exactly. Let me tell you, there are organizations today that don't care about, having women in organizations, and I'm not here to talk about women, I'm not a women leader or whatever, right? But I don't have the statistics here. The number of women as they are growing, or the females as they're, growing, and they're growing actually in proportion more than men. You are planning for extinction. Simple. So it's not as if you're doing anybody a favor. By being, by focusing on diversity and inclusion, you are helping your own future. So let's go to Nigeria. Look at my economic trends. And all I want to put across here is this, because this is all impacts on HR strategy, it impacts on company strategy from which HR finally divorced from. Statistics, it's 9.2%. It was 8.2 in January, so it's been inching up. 7 out of 9 months, it's been going up. And year on year, I was flat at 9.2, but about 9.4 is projected for August. GDP. The point being made here is that we are having an economic slowdown. If our inflation keeps on going up and our economy keeps on slowing down the way it's doing right now, we're going to have a big issue. Big issue. We're going to get stagnation. Look at the oil price and production as well. And I felt like mentioning, because there's no way you can discuss the economy today without talking about this. I see the direction we're going. Okay? Look at our production. It's not just now that the price is going down. We are also taking a dip in production as well. And all of you know that we're a monoproduct economy, right? So everything around us today, if anything touches oil, it touches everybody, whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter whether you're in manufacturing, whether you are in services, whether you're in construction. Don't just point the fingers at the oil and gas organizations only. It concerns everybody, okay? And it speaks to direction. Look at manufacturing. I was talking about how things are intertwined. Just to give you an example today. The reason today that we're not able to power most of the turbines that carry electricity is simply because the gas master plan has not been put in place. The gas master plan has a big issue for implementation simply because there's an issue, about even our production. Okay? And the fact that the pricing and a couple of other issues attached to it. And that's also affecting why we don't have the grid, working the way they should. And because of that, we found that our manufacturing sector is affected. Today, every manufacturer, I know companies today that have never been, I don't know whether it's changed if you are in Nigerian breweries here. I know that when I was in Ibadan in those days, Ibadan breweries was never on the national grid. Ibadan breweries was operating and probably still operating on private and Nigerian breweries generator. Never, because all their machines will just spoil if you ever put it on national grid because of fluctuation. Okay, so today you find the manufacturing cost is high, and that's why you will see that today there are 4 regional hubs in Africa today. Most companies are putting all these things, in different countries. So today, effort is going to South Africa, effort is going to Kenya, Nairobi, effort is going to Ghana, even across the road here. It's going to Cameroon in Douala, just to be sure that they have something more stable in those places, no matter how rudimentary, the state of that. Now, this begins to come here, right? This is where we are with regards to unemployment. The point I want to make here is this: we are in a very precarious situation. And I'm sure you will understand with me that today, look at our, the unemployment percentage, I was as surprised as you, because today, I think that from my experience, it's always been in the 20s, between 20s and 30s. But today, we see a trend saying that it's come down to single digits. Let's not even controvert that, right? Let's leave it the way it is. Look at also to underemployment. So it's not about just being unemployed. People are also underemployed. But the issue with this group is that the population of those who are in this category, they are between the 16 and 35 years, the productive life of any human being. Okay? I'm sorry to put it that way. I've passed this age myself, so I'm not pointing any fingers here. By the time you're after 35, before 35, you know, because if you are sitting down here, you're either that age or that age, you have this energy, boss and everything like that, you're thinking about how life will be. By the time you are 35 and 40, you have climbed, and you're either at the top there, and once you're at the top there, what do you start doing? Even if you don't want to take it, you are doing road work every day, you are always on the treadmill, you're trying to look young and look fit. I can tell you, the body will tell you one day that, kaki is not leather, exactly, But you see, the point is this, we have, we have the majority, these people here, they form 23.8% of unemployed. And they form, no, this number is not particularly correct. It's about 30 something here, sorry, it's a very problem. But today, totally, the unemployed and the underemployed, this age group constitutes 7.1% of this population. First of all, it's a tinder box we're sitting on, because in an explosion today, these are the people who will take the battle against the country. They're the ones that will cause trouble. And these are the ones, believe me sincerely, if you go and look at those who are feeding Boko Haram, they fall into this category as well. And it doesn't matter where they're coming from. We're talking about national issues right now. Okay? And in terms of job creation, the point I want to make here is that there is, of course, we are not able to create more jobs because the economy is not doing too well, and we are having greater unemployment. So there are big issues to deal with. The point I wanted to make here, it's not exactly clear, but it's just to piggyback on my previous slide to say that the age group we're talking about is here. Look at it. The average here is about 10 million, or let's put it here about 12 million. It's growing, and by 2020, they will be in the 20 millions. Okay, so it's still growing. And if you don't find anything for them to do, we see bigger issues with that. So what are the implications for employers? Okay, we see continuous slow growth and growing cost pressures, and many of you already you're facing that with your business leaders. Okay, so come and begin to review how sustainable, is current reward structure. How competitive is the cost structure itself? Because look at it this way: the reason you can stay in business is that your overhead is either comparable or less than your competitors. If your overhead is consistently above your competitors, even only for employee salary alone, you're going to be in trouble. There's something I'm going to mention there as one of the strategies you can use, but I'll talk about it later, is the fact that today, if your fixed compensation constitute, let's say, anything 80% of the total compensation structure, and your variable compensation is about 20%, there's a big issue. Compared to organizations where they've been so smart to ensure that they have fixed income, or the fixed part of compensation, just about 40%, and 60% on variable. So when business is doing good, you are doing good. When business is bad, everybody is bad. And you don't have to rush to do headcount cut. But today, if you are doing 80% of comp structure, fixed income, you are headed for a big time trouble when there's a downtime. And every business, in every organization, has a cycle downtime. Are you with me?
Yes.
By the way, are you coming along with me?
Yes.
Am I making sense to you?
Yes.
Also, there's competition for critical talent. It's not just, well, we say it's starting to heat up, but it's already there. Let me show by let's say by reasonable hand, and it doesn't, even though you may have your competitor here, it doesn't matter. It's not anything, confidential. How many people, how many companies here represented have roles or positions that for 2 years you have not been able to fill? That in a country where unemployment is high and growing, by the way, that you have roles, positions that are able to fill. And let me say this, these positions are being filled these days from outside the country. Either you fill by an expatriate, okay, or you fill by somebody I use the term of the company I ever worked with, also the company I worked for in the past, what you call the back to Africa population. And the back to Africa population, they charge you, they make you pay through your nose as though you are bringing an expert. Your listening is that you don't have to go and look for work permit. Right? No, seriously. And you pay the premium for them. A back to Africa guy, even though, let me give you a comment quickly for a while. I was talking to an HR manager, and he said, look, what is this? I cannot understand this. And I'm asking him to come back into the country after 4 years. He said to me he has a lifestyle. He said, who gave you lifestyle? And he was fuming. He was furious. He said, you didn't even know what the airport looks like. We told you to go and bring your passport, you didn't have one. So we had to procure one for you. We got you out of this country, we got you trained, and now we are saying, come back to your country, not even permanently, just for us to have you for 3-4 years. And you are saying that, well, you don't want to come back because, you married your wife outside the country, your children have been brought up, in British school, American school, and, health problem in Nigeria, hospitals, and everything like that. Was it here you left before you went to the place? The point I'm making here is, it sounds funny, right? We're going to have more of that. So be prepared, right? And I may not be able to cover all this, but one of the things you need to look at right now is that I should train people outside the country. And now I'm not compelling you to go get them to sign bond for you. By the way, bond doesn't hold in court. So, to sign bond. But find a way to get to get softer means, right, of tying people down. Otherwise, you are putting your money out there for somebody else to take. When new entrants come into the market, they will always come to you if you are known to be a good developer of people. I can tell you for sure. No startup has the time to build capability. They just go straight away. They buy. It's a strategy. They just go to buy, and when they're buying, they have not invested how much you have invested, so they're willing to pay money and they pay extra. I will tell you a bit more about that later. So what are the lessons we've learned from all we have said now about the economy, about the global trend and everything? What are the typical responses that companies go for? And many of your companies here have done that or about to do that. But I'll say, can you pull this stuff for a while? There's panic. There's pure concentration on cost reduction, top-down cutting of staff, and I can tell you that because most of those costs that is showing there, they're typically fixed costs. So you find out that revenue is going south and cost is increasing. Cost is going north. Employee cost is going north. And it's going north because, one, either because you have to do your normal annual increase, and I use that word normal in quote. It shouldn't be normal, and I'll tell you why. Or because you have to do negotiations with unions, and there are strong unions, and they're saying to you, well, we don't care about what you're talking about here. Oh, there's inflation. Inflation says 9.4%. And for me to know that I'm at work and I'm still earning exactly what I was earning last year, I must have 9.4% increase. And nobody cares about the business. And God help you. And if you have a sound business leader, and you go to him as well and say, well, it makes sense, isn't it? On the face of it, he will tell you why it doesn't make sense. Because he will ask you, where do I get the money from? HR, we must become business leaders. We must think business for the business leaders. And that's why we lose respect most times, because all we come to do is to just regurgitate exactly what the unions or what the staff are telling us. We should be able to do numbers ourselves and say, it's not going to work like this. And sometimes you have to be smart enough to tell the people and say, you know what, it's a choice. Either we want to continue this job, or you want to step out. Or you want to stay back and allow us to restructure this thing in a way that it works for both of us. and you can keep your job. And it's not a threat. It's just a plan. Okay? Some are already freezing base salaries. Some are already reducing or eliminating incentive compensation. Some are already tweaking incentive plans to make up for lack of performance. There's blanket recruitment, freezing and training and things like that. Let me say this to you. I'm saying this because I'm not able to get back to it. The time to work on your head count and to work on your workforce structure, right, and quality is where you have a downtime. Don't just throw everybody out there. I know companies that do that. Even companies that pretty much robust and in development people. They throw out there and they say we have money when the time comes to go and beat them again. I work for an organization and I can tell you for sure. It's a drilling company. As a drilling company, is that true? I've done that much already. As a drilling company, I will exit that because we spent some time. As a drilling company, either the rigs are there and you have people on top of it. And if there's no job for the rigs get stacked. When they start, there's nobody on top of it, right? So you don't need to keep them. You want to keep them maximum, maybe 3 months. You're paying them and there's no work for them to do. Because a new rig might come in and you just move over. But if you keep them further, you are hurting the company. So what do? You have to agree what they call fallow. And fallow simply means F-U-R-L-O-U-G-H. What it simply means is that fallow, you keep them on their housing allowance because you don't want to get them out of their homes. There are medical benefits so they don't die. They don't fall sick and die. On other basic benefits, right? The rest, 0. And they wait until a new rig comes in, or the new tender comes in, a new contract comes in, and they can take. Okay? So when you take this kind of step, what happens to you? You have people who are less engaged. I was talking about engagement here. You're losing critical skills from employees. You're losing talent you want to keep, and you have other issues coming up. What is the good story? The good story is that you can be innovative also too at this particular time. And innovative means that you're using the time to address things you have avoided in the past. Scarcity and hardship is the mother of discipline. When things are there and everything is fine, we tend to relax. But when things get bad, everybody knows, who is the real father. When everybody calls and say, daddy, 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 but it's only when you get home, and when you're about to sleep, you know who exactly are your own children. Okay, so when you have hard times, you then know who is the daddy with and what needs to be done. And I would want to recommend that use this time, if you are going through a tough time in your organization, use this time to review your work structure, your workforce structure rather, right? To identify your talents and use this time to restructure your reward system to be able to attract, to be able to retain them, to differentiate them and to retain them. So what are we hearing today? Now we're talking about engagement. And what is engagement? Engagement is simply how much an employee is willing to give you his or her services, right? Provided, okay, you are able to meet his or her personal aspiration as well. So today, the employment contract is not just what an employer does and say, I'm doing you a favor by recruiting you and by hiring you in my organization. Now the employee is saying, I also remaining with you, I have certain desire, have certain aspirations that you be able to meet. If it's a good talent, if it's a great talent, he won't even stay to discuss with you. The moment he or she is not feeling engaged, the door is open, your competition is picking up the person. If it's not a good talent, he will stay there, right? And be taking your money, okay? And if you are the one that your different benefits, your gratuity or whatever contribution you make is made on final salary, he just keeps on counting days there and marking time and having increased benefits. And by the way, maybe he opened a shop somewhere, he's doing the property business somewhere, he just comes into the office, parks his brake in the car, and once you close, he gets to go and do his business outside. There are people like that. You don't want to keep some people. So what we're hearing today is that employers are saying, we need to build talent from within, identify the right skills, and create career path. Employees are asking for clarity in expectations, and things like that. And the employees are saying, I don't see a career path for myself. I would love to navigate future possibilities in my organization. Today, many of our people that we hire don't even know what is next for them in their career path. And we should do that because that's our job as HR people. Okay? And there's no consistency in job level or pay. That's what we're hearing. Now, look at this very quickly. Unfortunately, I'm having to rush right now. Look at the perspective of the employer. when it comes to reward, in terms of the employer feels I'm doing all these things, I'm paying base pay for me, it's a retirement, I'm doing very well for this guy. That's for all this should retain this guy. And the employee feels this is my value today. This thing exists for my financial security and protection. This determines my future value and my quality of life. This is what I want to have. So you must be able to balance this point here with this point. It is a disconnect. You have disengaged employees. Contrasting perspective. I don't know how clear this is. I would have loved us to do some further work on it already. But then we look at it this way. Look at what unemployed, you know when we say unemployed, you know I told you earlier, I said you have talent and you have workforce. Okay? So here, look at it. This is a typical workforce, right? This is all you guys, everybody, you know, as they say in Lagos, you know, Buguero, if you know what I mean, right? But this is where you have your cream, is that correct? And see what matters to them. Now the question is, how many of us really actually see things from the perspective of these people who actually are your cash cows and your stars? They make the company tick, they make the company bring revenue back, you know, into the pulse. We need to have a look at that. And that perspective is very interesting to have. What are you going to do? Move from I think I know to I know. We're very qualitative in HR, believe me. And when we ask us questions, well, it looks like maybe, and this annoys, I will show you a video of a CEO who was talking about his ANSI, you know, with HR people. That HR people they are mostly right-brained, and business leaders are mostly left-brained. And HR people are not able, even with all psychology, are not able to understand that and take it from that part. Okay? And so we're not figure people, we're not numerate. And when I say we, so I'm not mentioning anybody here. We're not. So when it asks us, we say maybe, most likely, you know, we use that word we like to, and sometimes we talk like lawyers, and many of us are lawyers anyway, we're lawyers. We talk like lawyers. You know, it appears as though, you know, and we try to actually take, you know, get out of the exact. And the person speaking to you wants a measure of exactness. And the reason you cannot be exact is you don't have numbers. We don't have numbers. How many of us do metrics? How many of us go beyond even metrics, because we have gone beyond metrics now, into getting to predictive analytics, to say because the numbers have been like this and the ratios have been like this in the last 3 years, I have a sense that in the next 2 years we'll be in this situation if we don't make a change. We should get to that point right now, and we should be at that point right now. So we should go from pretty much anecdotes. Anecdotes, I'm not exactly sure what it looks like, okay? We should get into this predictive custom modeling. And we need to go through all these measures here. This is less powerful, this is less convincing. This is more convincing. When you want to speak to your business leaders, when you get there with figures, and that's why you find out that the marketing guys, the sales guys, the production guys, the finance guys, you know, most importantly, they get it and they have their way. And the finance guy will make sure that you don't have your way. And that's why if I ask you today, how many of us today as HR people, how many of us are loggerheads, finance guys? Oh, don't I know? Don't you know, I know you won't tell me the truth, but I know your numbers. Anticipate the future, okay? Because of future gaps in supply and demand. I was asking you, if you cannot anticipate the future, you would not know. The question is, you need to be in tandem with your business leader to know what direction business is going. And we do that between now and the next 5 years. We have them ready to go at that time. We should anticipate all that. And that should also come into our planning of compensation. So you start from common philosophy and what strategy. You know, Warren Buffett said that rear view mirror is always clearer than the windshield. Who can tell me why? The rear view mirror is always clearer than the windshield at the back. Eh?
There's no better dust. I'll be running against the wind.
Exactly. And if you have to actually use your rear windshield, you have an accident because you're turning back. Okay? So, common philosophy. Well, you will see, you'll pick this up, right? But the important point I want to make here is this. Don't just start to make a change in your reward plan, but ensure you know exactly what your common philosophy is. Perhaps it's been done by somebody and put there and it's gathering dust. Go find out, how did you get there? What was the plan? And you want to start doing a review from there. But also, too, don't start that review without getting into the strategy of the company. at the time it was done and where you are right now. Okay? So you look at external factors. When you are putting on philosophy, you look at external factors, you look at industry, you must know your industry, know your stakeholders, know your competitive markets, know governance and regulations, know your business internally, know your strategy, know the culture. I don't have enough time to talk about culture here really, but know the culture because your reward should drive your culture. What exactly you want to have in your organization is what your reward should drive. Many of us today will just pay. But your reward system should actually drive by incentivizing what you want to be done in your organization and how you want things done. You know, today, if I ask people in the bank, don't show your hands, I can see your tie already, how it's looking, if I know the bankers here. But the point is this, in the banks today, when you ask somebody to go and say, we need, how do you say that, to go and mobilize funds, are you bothered about how they mobilize the funds? Do you care? Somebody comes here and say, okay, I brought in 6 billion. Do you check that against, for instance, the values of the organization? That we have to be ethical? You need to. And you have to drive more. So when that person comes and say, I brought in 6 billion, you can say, well, you brought in 6 billion, but I will not promote you. Or you may not even get a salary increase. Simply because you got that 6 billion, I don't know what you did. And that 6 billion could be one governor's London money, so that as they are picking that governor, they're taking the bank as well. So you never know who is being naked until the tide goes away. All right. So don't always look. I always say, best practice is not always best fit. So please go for best fit and not best practice. Okay? Because, well, you know, this is not based on the swimming pool, because if I swimming pool is very clear, you know who's naked. It's based on swimming in the river. Okay? So in the pool, you don't have the tide going away, but in the river, you have the tide going. So if you're in the river, how many people are from riverine areas here? If in the river, you don't see anything. The person may be swimming naked, you won't know. But when the tide goes away, and it does, you will see who's naked. So you need to have a philosophy that also impacts your total reward strategy. I'm sure when I say total reward, it's not new to anybody here. You know, I'm pretty sure. And what it simply says is reward goes beyond just the cash compensation and the benefits that we know traditionally. It goes into what other things you offer that makes that person to stay. I think it was Warren Buffett who says that money is never a motivation for a key talent. And you can see when we're looking at contrasting perspective that high potentials don't look at money first. They look at career, advancement, and future. Okay? So you're able to offer more than, you know, the pay. More than, you know, you're able to offer line and development, that's training, career development, performance management, training. You're able to look at, you know, how you are building them in terms of leadership, okay, and, you know, other things. The important thing here is this. Let your key talents should know, and everybody in your company should know that there's more for them than the money. There are people who are working for you today, and the reason they are working for you is money. The little person say you can't care for them. But somebody will be there who can pay more than you do. What question should be asking to have a total reward strategy? So, please, don't ever fail to look at cost, right? Can this reward structure, let's see, can this reward structure, can it support our business strategy? Let me tell you, this is what will get you a seat at the table and will get you a hearing. If you don't look at this, and all you are doing all the time is taking, you know, we are called cost centers. And believe me sincerely, we should start trying to become revenue centers. Believe me. Otherwise, you know, I used to say, now I say it, and I say it carefully because now I'm a consultant. You know, they will outsource the job. But I didn't just start saying it. I was telling my team when I was working, I said, look, take this job as though we're being paid, and it's true, we're only being paid by the revenue brought in from operations and production and marketing and sales. These guys could choose one day and say, justify. And by the way, I think it started. Every time, because our cost, HR cost is shared. Isn't it? It's shared among the business, you know, among the business. And they will say, justify. Why should I pay 40% for you? What do you do for me? I want to hire, I have to do my interviews, I have to go and source, I have to go and, you know, I have to go and headhunt the person myself. I bring the person in, and when I'm asking you to help me onboard the person, give salary, you slow me down. Why should I pay you? Get off. I don't want you. I can do without, I can send that money and put another person, you know, to work on my operations. We have to begin to justify. Believe me, we are on the line. We must justify our roles. So cost is very important, okay? But when you are doing it, you look at all these bits, you will see them much later. So, in this context, my question to you then is, what are you planning to do? All right? Look at this. But I hope you're not taking that traditional step that I told you, because it will lead to demotivated, disengaged employees. You don't want that, because they're not productive. Have you been to, I went to a place yesterday, in the hotel I was lodging. I was a customer. I'm a customer, I'm still there because I'm still there. And I went to the business center. The way the woman looked at me up and down, I had to quickly, there was a mirror there to say, did I look different or something? But you can tell that she's just angry. Angry. So if you have angry employees, they will drive away customers. And as they're driving away customers, they're driving away revenue and business. Agility. So what do you then need to do? Adopt multiple reward strategies. Now I need to stop. Okay. Let me look for a slide that I really want to discuss with you. That's a slide that I must focus. Yeah, this is it. But you forget three things. Forget everything in this place. Don't forget these three things as a strategy. I will speak extemporaneously. I won't go through the slide anymore. Okay. One, you will have to differentiate. Believe me, the days that, oh, we can't pay this guy because we are paying everybody this. Where is it coming from? Is it because he has a degree of Harvard? Oh, you have to pay him differently. And I'm not saying go get his base salary out of work, but bring in an incentive that can drive the business of the company, that this guy is able to achieve, that can make all the difference. Please, don't put anybody on straight line, everybody on straight line anymore. Your key talents cannot be on straight line with your regulars. You know what I call regulars? They are regulars, right? The regulars are not your cash cows. Okay? So differentiate. We can't pay million, for our marketing roles if we want superstars. It's true. Many of us today, if I say, what position does your, if you know what that means really, what position does your philosophy say you should stay in the market? Market median. Every company takes market median. 10% time. Oh, yeah, that's what I want to be. But you see, or you want to be an average. If you are paying average, you get what? Average. And I'm saying, and by the way, let me put it this way, I'm an HR person, so I'm in an enabling role, so it's not no. But look, if your job, I'll give you a simple example. I was working in an organization, and there was this business we had. It was a cash cow business, subsea. And the subsea guys were actually paying like regular engineers in the past. I was starting using subsea guys. And subsea became very scarce globally because the oil market just simply shut up. So we moved the subsea guys from market 60% to about 80%. In fact, I was very aggressive, went to 80%. Everybody shouted. I went to the business leader and said, your cost will hike, right? But the point is this. Just simply do something for me. Can you, what's supposed to be their objective and the goal for them? He said, what's the revenue goal? He told me. I said, can you work about just 1% more on that goal? How much will it bring in? He told me the money. I said, okay, do you think you can achieve this? I can achieve it. I said, fine, good. I said, how much is money? He told me. I said, this money I'm asking, with this money I'm paying this guy extra. What fraction of this additional revenue? His jaw dropped. From that day, if that guy hasn't seen me before taking coffee, he won't take coffee that day. And this is the way you earn respect of operations. Talk to them the language they understand. They are left-brained. Just talk cost. When he was surprised, now the goal was met. He was not like me and said, can we do something more for these guys? Because this is over and above my target. Because even I am getting a turbo incentive. So it was fair for me to get, if I was in a position, I would have gotten some more myself. But I said, no, it's my job, I just do my job. But we should think like that. Okay? Well, that's, and when you segment, I will explain this very quickly. I know you are watching me, I know. So, segment people based on business strategy. Use that to form your people strategy and use that to form your reward strategy. And you can segment people, you can differentiate them based on organization, It can be based on business units. I just told you about the issue of the subsea business right now. It can be on geography. For instance, you have a business going on right now in the Northeast, where Boko Haram is raging like crazy. How many people want to go there? So, those guys need hardship allowance. Expatriates come to Nigeria, go to Angola, go to Libya, hotspots. I'm sure you know you have HIV, so you are not telling anything secret. Expatriates get 75% on premium. They call it hardship premium coefficient. And people say, oh, it's too much. No! Go to US, stand abroad, stand at what's it called now, at Manhattan, and say, I want to go to Nigeria. Everybody will pass by you. They think I do nothing. So anybody who is coming to Nigeria needs to have something. Ever been to Angola? Well, it's getting better today. But what Angola was 10 years ago, even you as an African, you know it's like going to where angels dread to go. So there has to be hardship. So you have to segment by location, by geography as well. Segment by key talent, just as I told you that earlier. Segment by, sometimes it depends, it could be age, it could be whatever, but you choose that. But at any point in time, choose what works with your business strategy. You know, I wanted to give you this test. They told me I have 5 minutes more, so I'm still going to give you the test. Can you just read through it very quick, what they call power reading? Don't read details, just power reading. And help this guy, help the HR guy, because he's under pressure there. I mean, don't get too much details, just power reading, quick, just scan through. And somebody offer an advice to this HR guy, how can I solve this? Yes? Okay, sorry. Want to help?
Just advise the story you just told us right now.
Which is,
you have to have data because he doesn't have any data. You don't have credibility without data with the business, that's one. Two, if you have a business mindset, then you have to understand that whatever it is you're doing as an HR professional, you've got to enable business success. So what he needs is, one, he needs to motivate his employees so they don't, he retains them and so on and so forth. But also, the HR manager has a point in terms of affordability. So he needs a business case that enables him to both support the line manager, but also then from an affordability perspective. So I need an extra 15%. Well, how do we get the money? That is a conversation the line manager will be having.
Can you just... Oh, please, help me. This, when you see your slide, this will be explained, you will see this, but what it says here is how you position your employees based on how you want to have, how they are, how your market is first of all, and how you want to position the market. And this tells you, the same story I mentioned earlier, this tells you how you can segment, based on importance and nature of competition for talents. But my point exactly here is, these are the people you need to look at in this segmentation, right? These are your people. Because you see, they are the ones that you give high or special requirements. Because you are in an emerging business. These are contracts that are key, to your operations. And these jobs, they are the jobs that make it happen for your business. So, this is the sweet spot for you to ensure that you are able to capture your employees along this line and deal with them separately. You need metrics to do this. And the metrics come from very good data. Garbage in, garbage out. I found that many of our enterprise data system is not working very well. Our data are not particularly correct. And I know big companies that they don't have good database here. But we need to make, because if you don't have that, when you are doing predictive modeling for your organization, if it's based on wrong information, then it itself is wrong entirely. Okay? Well, this is pretty much what else I want to show you. Public sector. How many people here are in public sector? Please be proud about it. Yes. Thank you very much. I wanted to also have a discussion, but I think I've had a few discussions on a consulting basis with public sector companies, and they told me why total reward and all the story I've just told you right now can never work in public sector. And I said to them, it can work. And I just told you, we need to begin to do performance management in the public sector. And that's why we can even get our public sector to be better in services, right, to the society. Where it doesn't matter whether I show up or not, I get my salary. At the end of the year, I will move one step. It may take me 10 years to get to the end of my grade and another promotion, but I will still get there anyway. So I open a shop at Galki. I come to work in about 10 o'clock. I close at 2 o'clock. I go to my business. No! We can get things better if we incentivize people. I know that they have bonus in public service, but we can have bonus in public service. We can have performance bonus. We can have incentive for different things that people, And we're getting there because today, state civil service, IGR is not enough. Federal government is not giving enough, from revenue, what's called a kitty into the states. So the question then is, how do we ensure that we're able to keep, and you still need good people anyway. Believe me sincerely, in the public sector, we need good people. How many people have been, I'm closing now. But what I want to make is this. There are people, I met some people, some public servants. Honestly, I was shocked. I did not know. And with due respect, I'm not bowing because I'm doing screening as a minister. But honestly, I have a lot of respect now for public servants. There are intelligent people. Sometimes you feel that it's just meant for, there are very brilliant PhD holders, not just in history or geography, in good disciplines. In fact, I saw my own colleague who was statistics in school. Occupy, and I say, Pamsec. I say, yes. Okay. Good people, well trained. And we can give goals, we can give targets, and we can give bonus as well also too. And we can make them better. And we can make them really come to the level of their colleagues in private sector. We don't have to have this wide difference where sometimes, for those of you who work in oil industry, when you hear what they earn in the civil service, I'm sure you laugh. Oh, it shouldn't be so. The differential is so wide. It shouldn't be so. We can get things done better, and we can so that people can come with the public sector and go to the private sector as well. Okay? So we can have that discussion then. I think call to action. As I said to you, don't forget, differentiate, integrate. Please don't put any reward solution or reward strategy outside connecting to performance. Connect pay to performance. Connect pay to performance. Connect pay to strategy of the business. And it doesn't matter for every business that you look, you can have 10, 15 plans, bonus plans, depending on your business. And when the business goes, the bonus goes with it. But ensure you connect. Don't go to your business leaders, operational leaders, without connecting whatever you are asking or adding to the compensation cost without getting funding from it, directly from the business as well. Let what you are presenting for also provide proposal for the funding and make sure you do your homework. Okay? And finally, be agile. When I say agility means that when you are facing an issue and you want to talk about reward, you have a reward challenge, face it from different points, right? Differentiate, segment, integrate if you have to, whatever you have to do. There is never one solution fits all. Always ensure that you have, an arsenal, of strategies to address whatever reward management issues you're facing. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for him, please. Well, thank you very much for coming for this session. I've learned a lot too, and I know you've also learned a lot. This afternoon at 2:30 p.m., he will be at the Niger Hall with Chizoba Mojeku, talking about issues and trends in reward management. You can bring all your questions there because that is actually a question and answer session. All your questions should come there. And if you have extra questions that you want him to address directly, you can send it to his email address, which is right there on the screen, to make a small presentation to Mr. David, just to thank him for what he has done this morning.
Of the President and Council of our Institute, Chartered Institute of Personal Management of Nigeria, I make this presentation to Mr. David Oye Ugbemo, CIPM, for a very interesting, highly interactive, and I'm sure fulfilling presentation this morning with special thanks.